Welcome to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. It is 8 p.m. Thursday, May 5th, 2022, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
Thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see it. Queer News Tonight is supported by viewers like you. We are part of the partnership between Happening Out Television Network and Hotspots Magazine. Hotspots is celebrating 36 years of the LGBTQ plus experience. We bring you the best of the LGBTQ plus news, entertainment, and support of our community.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Auntie Maim. Let's welcome anchor Tiffany Fantasia. She is one of the most notable drag performers in South Florida. She is MC and host at the world-famous Palace Bar, Ocean Drive's only gay bar and restaurant that features drag shows 7 days a week. She is infamously known for the popular saying, "Don't be a dry hoe, be a greasy bitch." Shameless plug, available in a wide array of merchandise. Welcome, Tiffany.
Hey. Let's welcome anchor John Hayden. John's been a journalist for 27 years and now works for several South Florida outlets, including South Florida Gay News, covering arts, politics, and philanthropic organizations. I hate that freaking word.
I hate covering them. No, I'm just kidding.
He spent the majority of his career covering the stupidity and scandals of Hollywood and has interviewed nearly every big name in TV, movies, and music. Tiffany Haddish once spent 4 minutes full on flirting with him. What a waste of time. Sadly, it wasn't meant to be for many different reasons. Welcome, John.
Oh, you know what? I have a new favorite, Tiffany. So let's just go with that. And spoiler alert.
And I'm single.
Baby. Two people on this panel tonight were last-minute replacements. I'm going to let you guess which two. And it's not Jasmin Pryce Lords. She's been booked all along. This drag queen is known as the plus-sized Barbie and the bearded beauty. She is the Florida mother of the iconic House of Lords and is also the new entertainment director at Hamburger Mary's on Wilton Drive. You can catch her at many popular venues in South Florida, including as the newest host of Georgie's Alibi's Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Good evening, Jasmin.
Good evening, everyone. And maybe you were not originally here, but it's meant to be, so here you are.
Exactly.
Right? All right, so let's welcome our other new host of the night, anchor Glen Weinzimer. Glen is the founder of the Smart Ride, an annual 2-day, 165-mile bicycle ride from Miami to Key West. The Smart Ride has raised and returned over $13.9 million to AIDS and HIV service organizations across Florida in the last 18 years. What makes Smart Ride unique is that 100% of every dollar raised by its participants are guaranteed to go back to direct service education and care. Glen also owns Bona Italian restaurant in the heart of Wilton Manors. Bona Italian holds weekly Gift Back Mondays with 10% of all proceeds returned to local charities. In the past 4.5 years, Bona has raised almost $50,000 to help local organizations. Welcome, Glen.
Thank you, and yes, I'm happy to be the two thorns amongst these ladies. One of the two thorns amongst these ladies. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Thursday, Cinco de Mayo, May 5th.
All right, so let's start by queering up education. Florida middle school teacher becomes victim of Don't Say Gay. Days before Governor DeSantis signed the bill known as Don't Say Gay into law, an art teacher in Southwest Florida was fired for discussing sexuality in her middle school class. Corey Scott, who is married to a man, was asked about her sexuality by her students. She explained that she is pansexual. After the conversation, other students began to discuss their own sexualities with her, so she encouraged students to create or draw a flag that represented them. Parents complained to the school board, and the first-year teacher was fired for the art project. Watch this.
A discussion happened in class, and because of that, now I'm fired.
That discussion, according to Trafalgar Middle School teacher Casey Scott, centered on student sexuality.
A lot of the kids came out to me like, oh, well, I'm non-binary, and a couple kids said, oh, well, I'm bi. One kid said they're gay.
She claims students wondered about her.
Oh, I'm pansexual, so like I like anyone despite female, male.
And married to a man. She says some students asked to create art expressing their sexuality.
This one's a trans flag.
She hung the pictures on her classroom door.
They said that it would be in the best interest if I just got rid of them now.
She snapped these pictures showing how she got rid of them.
I went over to the recycling bin, I grabbed all of their flags, and all the kids were staring at me, and I crumbled their flags in front of them.
She was sent home, and then
I got a call from administration saying that, well, at this time, we are releasing you from your contract.
she showed us social media posts from students upset over her firing. However, the Lee County School District showed us complaints from parents and students explaining that they could create flags expressing who they are.
I'm so nervous. I don't know about anybody else. I'm very nervous about where this is going because the bill hadn't even been signed into law yet, and this was already, it's a very, very dark shadow right now.
And welcome I think to Florida.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Welcome to Red Florida. When Don't Say Gay and we were holding all those rallies was going down, Broward County School Districts was supporting their teachers. And Broward County is out saying, no, this is wrong. But in Red Florida, you know, in and around Orlando, in Southwest Collier County, and all those places, teachers are going to get crushed by their administration. I just hope that the union is strong enough to get her back and get at least some benefits, because this is the GOP's worst nightmare, is giving kids the vocabulary to express who they are, and especially through art. The GOP is no fan of free speech or good art.
They did art forever. I mean, what's like the last 30 years they've been trying to get rid of the National Endowment of the Arts just because. Why? Well, just because, you know, art is expression and art is part of the thing that we don't want to talk about because it's not putting you in line with things.
And it's scary what it does to children. It's scary that they lose their self-esteem, that they're told what who they are is wrong, or the fact that they can't, like, innocently say, I've got two dads, and how does the teacher react to that? She just shut them off and, you know, and stop the conversation. I mean, what does that do to that child and his family beliefs and everything he's been told?
I mean, my thing is, these people act like the internet isn't around. You can sit here and talk about it in school, you can talk about it on the internet. You can't sit here and suppress it in one space because these kids are gonna talk about it regardless. So you might as well have the conversation, whether you like it or not. Because if they're not talking about it in school, they're gonna talk about it with their friends, they're gonna talk about it on the internet. It's gonna get talked about.
Very true. So hopefully someone will pass this video to some of those kids so they can see that there is a support structure there.
Amen.
Well, next up is Queer Up Health. Republican U.S. Senator says COVID-19 vaccine may cause AIDS. GOP Senator Ron Johnson recently appeared in an interview with anti-vaccine lawyer Todd Callender for a video posted to right-wing social media platform Rumble. Callender alleged that the COVID-19 vaccines cause AIDS. Callender said, quote, "The way to approach this is from a criminal point of view because that's what has happened. And until we start holding people accountable, Dr. Anthony Fauci, number one, you're going to see people still falling out, still getting sick. You've got more than 100 doctors here, all of whom will tell you that these shots cause vaccine-induced AIDS. They purposely gave people AIDS. They knew this," unquote. Johnson responded that it's possible the allegations are true, but the anti-vaccine activists need to wait for public opinion to be on their side before criminally charging health officials. Watch this.
The way to approach this is from a criminal point of view because that's what has happened. And until we start holding people accountable, Fauci, number one, you're going to see people still falling out, still getting sick. You've got more than 100 doctors here, all of whom will tell you that these shots caused vaccine-induced AIDS. They purposefully gave people AIDS, right? They knew this. The FDA, 2 weeks prior to their emergency use authorization license, had an internal review, an internal audit function that had the infamous page 16. They knew all of this, and yet they licensed these shots anyway. And then you have the trickery with interchangeable or not, and is it a legally distinct thing or not? This is criminal intent. And until we address this as being that, we're stuck. We're not going to get over this.
So let me challenge you there.
Please.
That's way down the road. You got to do one
Perhaps.
step at a time. I mean, you got to do one step at a time. Everything you say may be true, okay? But right now, the public views the vaccines as largely safe and effective, that vaccine injuries are rare and mild. That is the narrative. That's what the vast majority of the public accepts. So until we get a larger percentage of the population with their eyes open to, whoa, these vaccine injuries are real. Why? You got to do that step by step. You can't leap to crimes against humanity. You can't leap to another Nuremberg trial.
Just
Right?
God, the level of stupidity.
Far too much.
Oh, you can tell the people didn't go to science class at all.
But that's not how math works. Like, I don't understand. I'm just.
What is it? 60 million people have gotten the vaccine in.
More than that. Like
in the U.S.
Yeah, 180.
Yeah.
So
80 million people, yeah.
Theoretically, he's saying we know the incubation time for AIDS is not like 6 months or 9 months. I mean, if people were getting AIDS, we would know about it. It's the fact that this even gets attention when it's not factual is the part that just makes me crazy. I've been living with AIDS for 30 years. I know there's a difference between getting a shot and what those reactions are going to be like. This is just crazy.
But you
talk.
just said the important word, which is facts. Facts don't matter anymore, everyone. We know this now, right? This is the same facts that tell you that your teacher asking and talking about their sexuality magically turns your child into a queer person. Like, there is no more facts anymore. We are facing a pandemic of idiocity, to be very honest, right? The problem is that it's not just ground level. It's our officials, it's everyone else, we can't emphasize it enough. This is why it's important to vote. This is why it's very important.
Ignorance is more communicable than HIV.
Oh, yes.
Right.
I bet Rumble is the meeting ground for it.
How do you address this? Because the truth doesn't work. So what is the platform, or how do we get through? Because this is what they've been doing for years, is all these lies, new facts, how do we break through that? Because it's not, like I said, you show them the results and they don't believe it and say it's fake news.
Well, the problem is that they live in an echo chamber. That's the problem, right? And I have family members that are in the echo chamber, the QAnon echo chamber and all of that. And it's basically like a ball bouncing off a wall, right? Like, they're not receptive. And part of the problem is that I don't want to say that it's impossible now, but we have, with our digital world, we've built these cocoons, and it's going to become harder and harder and harder. So all you can do is just keep putting out your truth, basically. That's all you can do at this point.
And a lot of it is about algorithms, because a lot of these social media know what you follow.
Oh, yes.
So you're seeing only things that you believe in, which reinforces the lie. I don't know how you fix that.
I think another key thing that'll help change some of this is education, right? Which is why they're trying so hard to stop some of these conversations in school before it even starts. Because as unfortunately that community is aging out and getting older and passing away, the new generation who's being educated to think differently and process and ask questions will be the change. So the only way that they can even try to do that is to, while they're still here, is to stop the people coming up behind them from having the access and the resources and the thought process to ask those questions. So I think that's why we're seeing so much focus on schools and education, because that's how we're gonna make that change. So they need to stop that.
Educate the masses. Please, for the love of God, educate the masses.
Yeah. One of these guys is in the Congress,
Yes.
which has never been mistaken for a Mensa meeting, right?
No.
But moving on, we will queer up entertainment. A man storms the stage at a Dave Chappelle show with fake gun. Comedian Dave Chappelle was attacked on Tuesday while he was on stage at the iconic Hollywood Bowl as part of the Netflix Is a Joke comedy festival. The attacker, identified as 23-year-old Isaiah Lee, held a replica gun that included a very real retractable knife. Now, while Lee did tackle Chappelle before security was able to catch up with him, he never pulled out the weapon, so he won't be facing felony charges. Isaiah's brother, Aaron Lee, told investigators his brother has been in and out of shelters for the past few years and has many friends in the trans community.
Now that picture that we showed of him looking terrible, that's because Chappelle's security force, they didn't just detain him, they also beat him. And I think that speaks volumes to this, that even in this situation, the violence is there, because clearly that's not how normally, we've all seen people rush stages before. That's not normally what happens after a person rushes a stage, but...
Yeah, but they didn't know that gun was fake. And that knife was real.
No, the
too.
knife was real, but at the same time, once they pulled him away and took him back and started beating on him, which is a...
And then Chappelle went backstage and then stomped on him.
Yes.
Some more. So it became like they ganged up on him.
Yes.
At the end of it all. I mean, look, I don't justify rushing up on stage and trying to hurt somebody, but bitch, I got a cackle out of that one because Chappelle, he's been asking for somebody to come and see him. And I mean,
he's been daring people to.
He is from the same block that I've been, not literally, but you know what I mean. Like, bitch, you from the hood, you run that mouth, somebody gonna see it for you sooner or later. I don't condone violence, but I'm not surprised.
No, right. This was going to happen. I mean, he's literally been tempting people, making fun of people, and even I think for me the worst was the fact that Chris Rock then jumped up and made a trans joke right after on the microphone. I thought, you guys are. No one learns their lesson in this situation, and that's a sad fact. But hopefully, no one else will get hurt in future incidents.
Look, they keep it up, and the MDAs gonna start being exposed.
I have a question. Do any of you guys want to watch his special more now? Because before I was like, nah, I don't really care about it. Now I kind of want to see it.
No, I never.
No, I ain't giving him no more money. He good. Like after the fourth, fifth time, we told you stop talking about us. You kept talking about us for money. At this point, it's like I'm done. If he's a part of it, I'm not.
I feel like. So I mean, speaking on behalf of all three of us, who we tell jokes all the time, the difference is that he's not really telling jokes anymore. He's basically turned into like the Black Morley Safer of 60 Minutes fame, where he's just sitting and complaining now about how terrible his life is and how much he's a victim, even though he's a multimillionaire that just walks around and tells jokes for a living. So no, thank you. I will be not going around that. I'll just watch Witcher one more time. Thank you.
And there's also where like you can tell a joke that maybe, offensive to some, but he's now spreading a narrative. He is painting a picture of the trans community in a way, like he was talking about his friend who, committed suicide, and depicts this person as a man in a wig, but then you look up the photos and she's a beautiful woman. So it's depicting this narrative that trans people are big, bulky people who are trying to pass who fail, and that completely is not this person. And that's the issue. It's not about the jokes. The jokes, we can probably move past them, but he's now moving beyond that, and he's spreading this lie and this narrative of what the trans community is, and that to me is where the problem begins.
He's perpetuating hate.
Yes,
and that's
100.
He said it very clearly, and we all heard him. He said he is Team Turf. He said it out of his mouth. Yeah. So we take him for his word. So.
All right.
Okay, John? Just get caught in the back of your
throat. That word just makes me want to cough up a hairball on Dave Chappelle specifically.
Well, don't do it while he's on stage. You might get beat up. Yes. All right, so let's queer up education. Despite Republican outrage, most parents okay with school curriculum. Florida has seen math books banned for being woke, the infamous Don't Say Gay law, and other books banned from schools for simply mentioning same-sex parents. Despite the political attacks, a national poll conducted by NPR and Ipsos shows that most parents feel school curriculum are just fine how they are now. Even Republican parents approve of what their students are being taught, with only 1 in 4, so 26%, stating their child's school is not teaching about sexuality and gender identity in a way that is consistent with their values.
Parents I don't think they quite understand that they're in a hailstorm now of, once again, ignorance is the theme of the show for the day, apparently, right? You have 26% of Republicans. That's 26% of half of the country that's now the loudest screaming, kicking, and getting their way in all of these legislatures. It's just, it's just like disgusting.
It's the minority having an outsized voice.
Yep.
Because most parents are just fine with it. Most parents are just thrilled they're not homeschooling their kids this year.
Amen.
Literally.
Ain't that the truth?
Literally. I think that it's interesting. I did some research about the math textbooks that they were getting rid of, and it wasn't even, everyone at this point, we've all said the don't say gay a million times. It's not even that anymore. It's literally like they were marking things for talking about feelings. They were marking things for talking about respecting each other. These are the things now that are being identified as problematic material according to them.
I mean, I think it's very similar. Like, it's like, things repeat themselves. So when we're talking about the conversations of the genders and bathrooms and stuff like that, but how often is that really a conversation? Does it happen? When I went to school, I had one trans person in my school, and they went to the female bathroom, and it was not a conversation. It just wasn't a thing. Right? But they make it seem like by the hundreds, this is a thing, and like teachers are corrupt. Like, but when does this really happen? What do we really just like, this is not a thing. But they're choosing to take these little things and they're trying to make it bigger, and they're trying to create this narrative and this storyline about how people are being manipulative. And once again, like none of this is reality.
I mean, it's basically pandering to their base.
Of course.
That's the only reason why they're doing this stuff. Because really behind the scenes from some people that I know, they don't give a damn about this stuff. But it's people, there's this religious right group that feeds off of this stuff. It's like, yeah, we're fighting the fight against these people because they want to try and change us and change people. Like, girl, ain't nobody trying to change you.
No, stay over there.
We're trying to protect people that are different from you so they don't end up alcoholics, drug-induced people who can't deal with society because everybody and their mama trying to hurt them. And that's what they don't get.
No. I mean, if you think about it, the same group that's doing the most repressing, it's also the same group that represents the larger outsized version of the opioid crisis, right? It's the exact same repressed group of people that are trying to repress others. Like, go look at their family members, and like, that has the tendrils. It's everywhere.
And what's interesting is these are the same folks that don't want government dictating their lives. They don't want big government, but yet they're now trying to pass laws where government is actually controlling us. And government is making these decisions and saying teaching things in school is not right. But on the other side, they've been preaching forever, stay out of my business, stay out of my personal business.
Well, yeah, they're saying they don't want government in their lives, but they're okay with the government in
your
life.
Yeah. And that was there's a meme out about vasectomies in men. Like, how well would you take that if we turned it around on you and said, instead of blaming the woman for getting pregnant, we blame the guy and everyone has to get a vasectomy, which is reversible.
Exactly.
Then it's gonna be a whole different story, not in my backyard.
Now I don't want vasectomies because I need to know these straight men are cheating on these women. That's the evidence. That is the evidence. That is the evidence. If somebody comes up knocked up from that person, bitch, y'all was.
I mean, we've already lost Maury,
mean,
so I mean.
No, I was gonna say when Maury that would be at his retirement that day. Nationwide vasectomies.
That only works when they cheat on their women with another woman. So
Well, I mean,
we're not gonna talk
that's
about
a whole
that.
other story for a whole nother.
I mean, I thought this was the drag takeover.
We're not.
So
We can talk about this game if you want to, but I don't know.
let's leave that for another day.
If that's the case, let's curb trans rights. Lawmakers in 19 states looking to create safe havens for trans youth. Lawmakers in several states are looking to follow California's lead and offer refuge for transgender youth who are being discriminated against in their home states. Minnesota and New York have already moved to push through legislation offering refuge to transgender individuals, modeled after a similar bill proposed in California by Senator Scott Wiener. An initiative announced this week by the LGBTQ Victory Institute and other activist groups is being joined by lawmakers in, ready for this, Colorado, Connecticut, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Kansas, Kentucky, Maine, Michigan, New Hampshire, New Mexico, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, Washington, and West Virginia.
We're basically forming a trans underground railroad at this point. And if that doesn't scare everyone, that should scare everyone. That we're getting to that point.
And it sounds like it should be an unnecessary thing to have a state where there's refuge. But now you've got states like Missouri that are saying you can't have an abortion in Missouri, and if you go out of state, we will prosecute you or sue you as well. So people literally need refuge from their own governments. And that's not sad, it's freaking scary.
Right, and they want to actually, if someone has an abortion, not just say that it's illegal, but they want to prosecute you for murder. I think that was in the New York Times today or something. Like murder, like where do we stop? And again, it goes back to my point before. It's like, how do you educate people to not be so ignorant and so full of hate?
Well, I mean, if your head is in the sand and you're staying in your bubble, you have to break through the bubble. And to be honest, and you know, they made this comment about the abortion rights debate, which it ties into this as well, which is nothing's going to stop all of the senators and the representatives. Nothing's going to stop their mistresses from getting an abortion, because when that happens, they'll go and get them. So it's really a do as I say, not as I do.
Hanger at hand,
right? Always. We have lived in such a hypocritical state for such a long, long time that I think that we've gotten used to it, and now that it's starting to become tightening its grip on all of us, and we can't really ignore it. Not that we ignored it before, but now it's like getting to that point where it's almost like a fight. You feel that kind of tension that's in the air.
Well, and earlier it was South Florida, if you will, and the rest of the state. And we can do our thing down here, and we can walk around in Wilton Manors, and we can hold hands, and you can be who you want to be. But now the northern part of the state is starting to encroach and push down on us. And so it's always been a divided state, going back to Anita Bryant and everything else, but now we're seeing the result of what Tallahassee can do.
I think it's really crazy when we think about, like, granted, we have a long way to go with the LGBT rights for ourselves, but how trans people have stood at the forefront for all of the change that we have gotten, and everything that we have done has been on the backs of the trans community, and they are still the furthest behind us. That just blows my mind. I do not understand, but I guess as we continue to grow and educate, hopefully, you know, the youth who are coming up behind us who are learning the verbiage, they're learning the skills to have those conversations and communicate the language that we didn't have growing up. Maybe that'll be part of the change, but when I think about where we came from and how we've gotten here, and has been on the back of those people, and they're still the furthest to be anywhere close to being equal, and it's just, I can't believe it.
Well, I think it's the youth now, because of social media, because of all of the networks, they're exposed to so much that I do think that the younger generation, they've really started to learn empathy better. Because honestly, like our generation and older, empathy is not a thing. It's not a thing that people have. They don't look at each other and have concern for other people, have concern for what they're going through. And a perfect example is the trans rights. I remember when they said that like donations to GLAAD and all of the gay organizations after gay marriage got passed, donations plummeted because it was like they just walked away like, well, job's done, right? It's not like we have anybody else to take care of. And meanwhile, the trans community is like, we're still just trying to live.
Thanks.
So it's just empathy. We have to get it back.
Because they felt safe, so they didn't worry about anybody else.
Right. It's not about you, it's about me.
And we talk about that when it comes to HIV and everything else in our community. You know, it doesn't affect me, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to go drinking, I'm going to go partying, I'm going to have a good time. I'm invincible, I'm still young, and they are going to suffer the repercussions of not stepping up. And how do you find those people that are your tipping point, your influencers, that are going to bring their friends along, educate them, because they're the leaders. And you have to find those leaders. We can't educate everyone, but if we can educate those leaders, they will educate their friends.
That's so true. Oh my goodness.
Well,
I'm exhausted.
That was heavy.
Well, I'm glad that these states are, you know, trying to make something for these youth because they need it. You know, especially, you know, if you come from a very conservative home, there's a high chance you're getting kicked out and ending up on the streets. And I'm glad there's somebody trying to pick up the pieces.
That's right.
Next, we report on our partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine in supporting that partnership. Happening Out television network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ+ religious live broadcast in the world, as more than 30,000 watch every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Watch this.
G'day everyone, I'm Australian cellist James Clark, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
I love Australian cellists.
Ooh, good day, mate.
They're coming from the land out. Right. That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show. Is our community important to you?
You know it is, so help us by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for updates and share the news with your friends, family, and fellow panelists. We all have panelists at our house, right?
We do.
Yeah,
Panels.
Sure.
I love panels.
Laminated numbers too, so they can.
Dark panels.
Post this broadcast in the many groups you are a member of. Tonight's stories about our community deserve the attention of your family and friends.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is literally out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Happening Out Television Network and Queer News Tonight. I'm your anchor, Auntie Maim, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Tiffany Fantasia, John Hayden, Jasmin Pryce Lords, and Glen Weinzimer, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. Good night.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the